Hey, my name is Jeff Morgan. I'm here with Dad Talk today, and I have the honor of meeting Bruce Whalen. And you're from South Dakota, is that correct?
I am from South Dakota, running for the United States Senate.
And is right now, is that position currently occupied by somebody that you want to replace, or?
John Thune is the incumbent at the moment, and we want to rescue him from the swamp. He's become a part of it, and we just want to get him back out of there and back to South Dakota where he belongs.
Okay, so you're coming down here all the way to Florida to spread this message, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
By the way, did you just know RC from before?
No, actually, a friend of mine, they texted me and says, hey, we know people in the booth, stop in and take a picture with them. So that's what I came to do.
Okay.
And now I'm here having an interview, so that worked out pretty good.
Good, great.
Hopefully they'll see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we talk about at Dad Talk today, we talk about the importance of fatherhood. Fatherlessness is something that we see running throughout the country, but I think that many times politicians actually misunderstand it. They talk about deadbeat dads, and yet if you want to look at the reality of it, many dads want to be involved in their children's lives. Government policy is the one that makes children fatherless in many instances. Do you have any, have you had any experience with that personally? Do you know friends that have had any experience with that?
Yeah, the community that I live in is ravaged with fatherlessness. And a lot of that came from boarding school systems. The children are taken into boarding school at the age of 5 or 6 years old. And a lot of them drop out, but the ones that do make it through to the high school graduation, they're being taught how to be a person in a boarding school and less how to be a parent. So it becomes rampant. My father was in a boarding school, so were my mother. So on both sides, I didn't have good parenting, and we struggled. So they got a divorce. My oldest brother, and matter of fact, the only one that didn't get a divorce in our family was my sister. But all of us got a divorce. We didn't know how to be parents. We didn't know how to be dads.
Got it. So then after a divorce, did you have children at the same time when you got divorced?
I had children in my first marriage. He's 35 years old. I love him to death, and he's a good man. He's breaking the cycle of the divorce. We spoke about these things, about the alcoholism, the drug abuse, the intervention on the federal government into our lives and how it didn't help us out. It made things worse. And so we talked about it over the years, and I says, if there's anything that I can teach you, my son Kyle, is stop the violence in our family. And I pass that same message on to my other children in the family, and they're doing the same thing. Proudly, I can say that none of them smoke, drink. They're responsible citizens, and so I think that's a long way to go. Of course, I didn't know how to pass on parenting to them because I didn't see it myself. Right. But my wife, she came from mother and father, and she heavily influenced them. I'm glad for that because I actually got to see what a father looks like in her dad. He's the man that I love the most in my life because he was a dad to me.
Wow, that's really amazing. They talk about family being the foundational unit of society. It's the first hospital, it's the first economy, it's the first government, it's the first laboratory, it's the first place that you learn how to have relationship with other people. And if the family is broken, the nation, by definition, will be weak. It will be a bunch of fractured people. So the idea about keeping families together and strengthening it and giving models like that you're talking about is very important. From the position that you will be in the Senate, what can you do to help talk about this, raise issues about this? Because right now a lot of government policies actually incentivize the destruction of family. And as you mentioned, the government has not been helpful in a lot of situations. The government has actually been the cause or has helped to contribute to the downfall of the family and the downfall of individuals. What have you given any thought to this?
I have. I'm a personal witness to the events that happens from the government put onto the people, and I think that I can speak from a lot of experience and experiences around in my community because we're a protected class of people. The government came in and says, hey, we're here to help. Well, how they help is they regulate us out of being a human being.
Right.
And pretty soon we have nothing left but, quite frankly, this is what's going on in my community. And they didn't raise their hands to be this. I'm not trying to speak bad about my neighbors and my relatives, but they are protecting fascism, communism, socialism, and Marxism in our community because they've been turned into a protected class of people by the government itself through legislation, and they're funded that way. So when they turn around, when they give their vote to a representative, they say, well, let's give it to them because we know that we're going to get some federal money back. But if you look at the Pine Ridge Reservation where I'm from, and you look at the demographics, we have high diabetes, high heart heart disease, we have high fatherlessness, we have broken families, we have the worst demographics in the Western Hemisphere. Russell Means is an activist for the American Indian movement, and what he said was, to the Congress, he said, if you want to see what failed socialism looks like, come to an Indian reservation. And it's true. We see it ourselves. We don't like it that way, but it's a protected system. The federal God is a very jealous God, and it wants to make sure that its priorities remain with us. And we act like we're infected by the Stockholm Syndrome because the people there are protecting the captor now. And by the way, that's happening all across America right before our very eyes. South Dakota's being turned into a giant Indian reservation, and this is what I want to tell America. So are you. You're becoming a giant Indian reservation. The problems that we see in Indian country, it's in your community, and we can see it in pockets of developments. It's on the news because they report smoke, fire, and guns. Well, guess what's usually related to that smoke, fire, and guns? Fatherlessness.
You know, when you were talking about that, I couldn't help but to think that they regulated us out of being human beings. I think that's the way that you phrase it. And I thought, and I'm listening to you, and then there's federal dollars, and they're going to be your protectors. And to be honest with you, the first thing I thought about is that is exactly what happens in our so-called family courts. They are anti-family courts, they destroy families, and then they regulate. Are you going to be a father? You can be a father on these days and at this time frame. But your value is not in being a father, it's in being a source of funding to making a single parent household. And what people don't talk about as well is that when we have single parent households, those children are more likely to become socialists, Democrats, communists. That's what Lenin did. Destroy the family, destroy the society. If you weaken the family, you create a group of people, or in your instances, you're talking about the Indian nation, that is not self-sufficient because they've developed this whole system of, I need somebody to help me out. So I'm glad you're talking about this. Now, are you seeing a lot more self-sufficiency right now coming out, is being talked about?
Well, like I said, the federal government is a jealous God, and it's a struggle because when we try to be self-sufficient, of course the tribe says, hey, that has to come with some kind of federal funding, and it does. And that self-sufficiency comes with the bureaucrat managing it, saying this is what we're going to approve, this is what we're calling self-sufficiency, and it never winds up to be that. And so we have this vicious cycle of being managed by bureaucrats. When you're a protected class of person, and America, you need to understand this, protected class of person does not see race. Everybody can be involved in a protected class person when the federal government goes beyond its few and enumerated powers into your lives, and it tries to take over and establishes bureaucrats to do that. Matter of fact, in our Declaration of Independence, there's a plank in there that says you took away our legislature. And when I saw that, it's like, yeah, that's exactly right, because the bureaucrats are in charge. President Trump felt that effect firsthand. He's an eyewitness to what bureaucrats can do to the commander-in-chief, to the president of the United States, to the Oval Office.
Right. Wow. It's very, very powerful what you're saying. And I've had many friends that have Indian background. They've talked about things, and obviously I have not experienced it personally. But one of the things I remember them talking about is some of the things that you mentioned: addiction problems, hopelessness, even suicide. And when we have the government that is not necessarily our friend, mandating and dictating every single thing of our lives, as opposed to allowing our human spirits to soar and to become who we are supposed to be, those are the results.
We had a tribal program in the Oglala Sioux tribe that was a suicide prevention program, and the president of the tribe came in to me and said, "Did you hear that the program managers are teaching our youth how to put a rope around their neck?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I was one of the people that wrote you the report. And I said, "We go in there. It's not one of the programs that I had jurisdiction over because I worked in the executive director's office and I managed grants and contracts. It wasn't one of the programs, but we certainly, outside of the government where I could say something, we told everybody in the community that one of our programs is teaching the children how to commit suicide." They didn't see it that way. They saw it that they was teaching them how not to commit suicide by putting a rope around their neck. So this is the kind of bureaucratic fantasy that we're involved in. Some people come in there and they teach us to do the wrong thing in our own groups. And that's not just in Indian country. America is being infected with that bureaucracy.
Right. So, Bruce, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by here right now. People that want to be involved in your campaign or want to know more about you, what you're saying is, man, it's resonating with our hearts. But people that want to know more about you, maybe help you out in some different ways, how do they contact you? How do they keep in touch with you?
Sure. It's WhalenForUSSenate.com. WHALEN for USSenate.com.
And that's FOR, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook as Whalen for U.S. Senate. And also, my Facebook account is opened up to the public, so if you want to just come in and creep my wall, that's fine too. Just be polite, because I have emerging youth on my channel, and I block everybody that starts throwing out the F-bomb. So just be polite. If we're going to have a conversation, let's have a civil one.
Absolutely. We have to talk about this, because the issues that we're talking about, the issues that you're talking about, they cross political boundaries. They cross demographic boundaries.
Certainly.
This is something that is foundational to our society. And Bruce, we look forward to seeing you get in there. God bless you, and wish you all the best.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I was glad to speak to you about this. This is a crucial issue. The family unit needs to stay together. More importantly, God designed us that way, and we need to honor God.
Thank you so much, Bruce. God bless you. Great.